What's up, you guys? We just finished Ask Alex 32. This was the webinar on the deal maker calculator, and this is our bread and butter here. Alex uses this thing to review thousands of deals, and on the webinar, we reviewed two, one that we passed and one that we took down. Alex, what are the 3 or 4 biggest things you can mention about the deal maker calculator?
What an amazing webinar, right, Will? I mean, we covered so much on the deal calculator, how to review the numbers. I'm so excited for you guys, but you got to watch it to the end because we cover so much on how to make solid offers and make decisions to buy property. We're going to show you guys how to really calculate the ARV, how to really calculate, the purchase price, how to really calculate the rehab. And if you want to figure out that fourth most important thing, just watch the webinar. Hey, what's up, my deal makers? I am excited about this webinar, you guys. It's going to be amazing. Let me see here. Let me get in my man Will, and we will get this thing launched off. How's everybody doing today? There he is, Mr. Will Wall. Shoot. All right, multi-panelist. Here we go. Mr. Will Wall. So I am here in Hawaii, on the island of Maui, and we are making a lot of progress on our flip over here. We're gonna be talking about that. What's up, my man?
Mr. Camacho, how are you, brother?
I am doing amazing. How are you?
Well, I wasn't picking any colors for paint today called Flipper, but definitely doing some work out here on the flips, and excited to connect with all of the Ask Alex tribe. I think today is going to be super fun, right? We're talking about the bread and butter of all this stuff, right? Deals and your deal calculator, which is something that we use in our business multiple times a day. It's how we make our decisions on properties, right? It's not based off emotion or, hey, I like the look of that property versus another. It's, hey, do the numbers work or not? So really excited about today. And I know you are as well. I mean, this is a calculator you've used thousands of times, right?
Yeah, exactly. And what's interesting is that I just got this idea of sharing the calculator because I know it's been very helpful for our business and something that I helped create. I did get it from my second mentors. I did customize it to what we use it for, but I got over 700 direct messages from Instagram once I posted that, and so we've been flooded with people asking for it. So I created a video on it, but I just don't think it's enough. So that's why we decided to do a whole webinar about it, so we can review deals, we can ask people, answer people's questions, and get everybody informed. And being able to review numbers is really the lifeblood of this deal making business. So I'm excited.
Yeah, and you nailed it, right? Like there's no deal without the deal, and you don't know if you have a deal unless you run the calculator, really. So I think this should be a great webinar. Your post, Alex, again, and just the fact that you're willing to share this with people. Sometimes folks aren't really as open to kind of share the tricks of the trade. But I mean, it's what we do here on the webinar is just open up, the book and the trades of the business, and kind of share that with other people. So, for you guys that are here, our regulars, go ahead and let us know in the chat, like always, where you're tuning in from, and go ahead and put your Instagram handle in there. That way, some of the new folks in the room, they can kind of catch up and connect with you as well. You guys all know Alex. Alex, is going to be kind of talking today a little bit more about his calculator. But before we do, Alex, would love to just kind of get an update. I mean, I know you're back on the island. What's kind of been going on in your life, man?
Well, I just back home. Been getting a lot better with my daily rituals and habits and routines. I know we talked a little bit about that last week, but I've been in a zone because just being able to wake up in the same bed, being able to go to sleep in the same location, and then just planning my days out a lot more, being in front of my home desktop and be able to have a lot more of these business meetings that we have. People think I'm in Hawaii, so I'm just surfing all day, but not the case. I'm in meetings day and night, and I'm not complaining, but it is definitely I'm happy to be back in the same place for a extended period of time. Although I will be traveling again next week, but for the meantime, I'm really happy about the rituals. We have been working a lot on the Maui flip. We are going to be getting full possession on Friday. I got to send a wire to the tenant for their final half, so then they can move out to the last tenant. And we've been walking the property, and I'm so excited about that deal because Number one, it's just such a magical property. But number two is once we really got to walk the property and see what we had on our hands, because whenever you're walking property with tenants that or homeowners that is occupied already, you really don't see the whole picture. It's just impossible because there's furniture, there's a bunch of things, and it's hard to kind of get in that zone of imagining what a property could be when there's, it's being occupied. But once we started to clear things out and got the other tenants out and we're able to walk on the property more, we could see that really it does have a potential for a 180-degree, panoramic view of the ocean. But we got to cut down a massive amount of trees, or not cut them down, but trim them down to open that up. So that's really exciting to be working on. I think it's gonna be like $7,000-8,000 just for the landscaping. And then I'm gonna be headed out of town. I'm going to Phoenix Monday for 4 days. Got a friend of mine that has 80 doors over there. He can show me around town. I think he's working on another 50 doors with him and his brothers and his team over there. They're from San Diego, so shout out to Edwin. He's gonna be showing me around. I'm interested in starting to invest more into multifamily this year, as we've talked about. So that's kind of the impetus and the reason for me to go out there. And then I have a bunch of other people that I'm gonna connect with. So if anybody's in the Phoenix area next week, let me know. Or if anybody has anybody that's investing or active, let me know. After that, I'm gonna be going to Miami to go check out South Florida and some of the the opportunities there. I got a bunch of friends, contacts, investors out there. Also, my twin brother and his entourage, his cannabis friends and all are going to be going out there. And so we're going to have a good time. We're going to check out that concert. I think it's called Rolling Loud, big concert. And then also just have some fun, but also check out the market. I like South Florida. And then after that, I'm going to be, so I'll be there about 5 days. And then after that, I'm going to San Antonio, checking that out for 4 days as well, because you've been hearing a lot of great things there. And I have a friend that has 130 doors over there, and a lot of them are Airbnb. And so he's crushing it. So I'm really excited to go and meet him and learn from him, and then check out that market, maybe pop into Austin. So yeah, that's kind of the travel plans. And then I just want to give you guys an update. So we got 8 transactions we're working on right now, 8 deals. 2 of them are rentals. One's a short-term rental, Airbnb. The one in Joshua Tree. The other one's going to be a rental property in the Antelope Valley. And then the rest are one Maui flip, and then the other, I think 5 are all flips in LA, Lancaster, Southgate, California City. We're just wrapping that up. So we're looking for our next deal, constantly trying to get to that, above 10 deals and up consistently is what really our target is, right?
Yeah, and you nailed it, Alex. I think it's we have a good amount of deals right now, but we are actively kind of hunting for the next one, and that's why I think this webinar in particular is going to just be phenomenal, because this is exactly what you and I are doing, right? I mean, for me, what I do is I'll typically review a deal, and if it's a deal that I want to make an offer on, once we get to that point where the offer is accepted, then I have to kind of go back and do a second set of numbers to justify the offer, to Alex, and say, hey man, we got something under contract. Are we going to go forward with this, or do we need to get out of escrow? And so we'll kind of explain that process to you guys today. And Alex will review a couple of deals that we've either locked up or have looked at locking up, or maybe had locked up and decided to pass on. So these are going to be some actual real properties that we're going into. These are not made up properties. Alex is going to be opening up the books here today. Before we do, though, Alex, if you don't mind just hitting down on the pull button down on the bottom of your window bar, and scrolling down to the bottom pull down there. Not this one. Well, yeah, we can let this one go if you want. But go down to question number 13, I think down there should be, have you guys ever used this calculator? So I know personally, kind of looking around the room, I've talked to a couple of people here in our chat that have already this week. So guys, I want to know, have you used Alex's deal maker calculator before? Because again, I think this is something where, if you haven't, you're going to get a real inside dive today. If you have, you are going to get a real inside look today into how Alex does it. And if you're somebody like me, again, anytime you get to see this guy review deals, it only makes you sharper and sharper, because iron sharpens iron. So without further ado, Alex, I think what we're going to do is see if anybody in the room right now has a deal in Southern California that they would also like for us to review. And if we have enough time at the end, this could be for anybody in the room that I mentioned that's maybe done a deal but thinks they might have done it wrong, needs some advice on it, might have missed on a deal and think they did the numbers incorrectly. So if you're in that position, go ahead and send me a message, and we will go ahead and see if we can get your deal reviewed here. But in the meantime, Alex, let's go ahead and jump into our first deal and kind of talk a little bit about why we chose this one.
I definitely will. Before we start, though, I did want to make a couple of points on the deal review calculator. One of the reasons it's so important, you guys, is because it enables you to look at the deals side by side. That's why it's structured that way, right? It's like the left side is the worst case scenario where I spend actually one of the most amounts of the time on the calculator kind of on the worst case, because I want to know if I have the potential to lose money on that purchase, on that rehab, on that flip, on that, that property. And then there's the base case where, the numbers we feel confident. We feel this is kind of where we're going to, this is middle of the road. All of our numbers are pretty lined up there, and we don't feel like we're stretching anything or forcing anything. And then the best case scenario, just, we got the winds behind our sails and the market helps us, or we find a buyer that's falls in love with the property, willing to overpay for the property. Then, we can get lucky. But I just feel like once you get good at running these numbers quickly, you can get to 7 to 10 minutes. You can run a scenario and you can run 6 scenarios, 7, 8 scenarios in an hour, and then maybe make offers on 2, but it helps you be decisive, and speed wins deals. So if you're able to make better decisions, use more logic because you're looking at the numbers side by side, it helps you make much better decisions, much quicker decisions. And it's based off of logic and numbers, not just like, hey, I feel like this might be a good deal. So I think that those are just kind of points I wanted to make. And then it is something that you just got to put the reps in. And that's why I posted about it, that I've analyzed over 5,000 deals. And once you analyze hundreds and hundreds of deals, you just have different way of looking at the numbers and looking at properties. And so we're going to jump in. But yeah, so the first
Alex, before you do jump in, I would almost argue that you kind of have the calculator now in your head, where you can almost sit there and be like, okay, so these are the numbers, like we're close, we're in the range, we're near the spread. So I can't wait for you to, again, kind of dive in here and really show people the base case, the worst case, and the best case. Because I know, again, when we talk deals, you and I do spend the most time in the worst case, because it's, hey, what if things do go bad?
That's a great point, Will, because you're right, though, because what happens is I'll even ask you on the phone, right? You call me on the phone and I'm not in front of my computer and be like, hey, I got this deal. I'm like, all right, so how much money do we make if the numbers is this, numbers are that? But that's combining the numbers on the calculator with my knowledge of the properties that we're analyzing. So that's why you need to be out there analyzing deals on different areas constantly. So that way you kind of memorize like kind of where you need to fall on your numbers. And also that part of that is your minimum desired profit. How much do you need to make on these deals for it to make sense? And so you're plugging it based on all that. We're going to go through all that. So
and guys, in the meantime, if you have any questions, once Alex starts getting into the calculator, please go ahead and use the Q&A feature down here below my screen at the bottom of the screen. Use the Q&A feature and go ahead and put in your question. Alex is going to go through line by line, step by step. We're going to do all 3. But if you get stuck on something, go ahead and let us know and we'll try and get you an answer. All right.
And are we going to share the results now, or we're going to do that later?
Yeah, you can go ahead and share the results. Again, I just wanted you guys to know here in the room that we have 22 people here that have not yet had a chance to use Alex's calculator, 8 people who are not at all looking at deals. And then, yes, we've had 13 people. So everybody in this room should be able to raise their hand today at the end of this and say, I got better at reviewing deals. So this is going to be absolutely awesome. Let's go, Alex.
All right, let me just pull up this. I got to pull up the script, or not a script, but our notes here for the webinar on a different screen.
First house we're going to do is in Lancaster.
Yeah.
And the address on this one is going to be out on 7th Street in Lancaster. And Alex will go ahead and kind of pull it up here in a minute. I'll throw it in the chat as well, because you guys are going to get to see the property here when we review it. Alex, first things first, where did this deal come from? And why did we kind of take this deal down? And I'll let you guys know this was actually my second deal working with Alex. And it's funny because it came from my first ever appointment that I went on without Alex. So I went on an appointment, met an agent, did not make an offer on that property because it wasn't one that was going to fit our box, but let that agent know that I was very interested in making purchases. And if something came up, to give me a call. A couple months go by, the agent says, "Hey, I have a deal. We're ready to rock and roll." And now all of a sudden we get this, this property. And so when we got this property, what we did first is we did our first review. So Alex,
Okay.
what does that look like? And what are we kind of doing first? What's the first step?
Okay, so the first thing I typically do, and I know I've mentioned before, but it's worth restating, is I typically will go right to Google Maps and just see if there's any immediate deal breakers. Something like it's next to railroad tracks, or there's next to a huge commercial building, and it's a nicer area, so it's kind of a deal killer for that area. So, can you see my screen?
Yes, sir. We can see the screen.
Okay, so this is the property address, 43524 7th Street East. So when we look at it and we zoom in, we see that this is property here. We do see that there's a kind of a lot behind it, so that's a little bit of concern, right? There's vacant, maybe burned down cars right here. Now it is the Antelope Valley, so kind of par for the area, I guess you would say. So it's not an immediate deal killers, but you guys get my point. Just to see if there's something, because you don't want to go through 5, 10, 20 minutes of work and then find out, oh, hey, this thing's deal killer because of X, right? So do that. Get a kind of idea of the street, because I want to see if there's, since we're primarily working on entry level, cosmetic or just entry level houses, we want to look for curb appeal, because usually they're families, people, new couples, young couples, things like that. So it has some curb appeal potential, right? It's not, and then we're looking at the neighborhood. Look at this house over here, looks nice, well, decent. This one looks in good shape, or not too bad. This one a little bit rough, no landscaping, but not that bad. So no deal killers there. Right after that, usually I'll just jump right into the numbers. So we're gonna go into MLS. I usually go into the tax records, because I want to see officially what is on the records. So then that way, I'm comping it out based on that, and not necessarily.
Is this 1,100 square feet, or is it 1,300 square feet? Is it 2-in-1, or is it like what is on record, right? What does the city and legal know about it? So I love that, because again, Alex, you haven't even looked at the property yet. You're still just kind of looking at the outside info. So this is great stuff.
Yes, and so this is the tax records. You guys have access to that in different ways. You can get other services, but this is we have the MLS, and we see it's showing 2 bedrooms. Look at how much they bought the house for, though. That's something that immediately jumps out to me, because what I have found, and I'm gonna give you guys a quick ninja tip, as my guy Indar likes to say, is I have bought a lot of property from people that bought property during the recession, right? From 2009, 2013, 14. If you bought a house, you got a fantastic deal. So that means if you bought an average house, you didn't put any work into it, and then now you're going to sell it, then that means that likely that you could leave enough meat on the bone for me as an investor, because you just, you rolled up that appreciation. So you have a lot of upside. Compare that to a homeowner that bought the property 2007 for, triple that, right? Or for 120. And then so their mindset is different. They rolled the wave down, their house went all the way down in value and then went back up and barely rebounding. And so they're a little bit less likely to want to leave meat on the bone for an investor. That's what I have found. So just keep that in mind. If you see that somebody bought during that time, they bought a great deal, that's a positive. That's a good, a good thing. So 10,000 square foot lot.
While it was low, right? So now they have some equity built in that they can leave for you. And that's what you mean by that meat on the bone, is leaving you some equity.
Mm-hmm. And what you want to do when you're looking at the tax record, guys, you want to immediately almost memorize the numbers, just quick and dirty. Okay, it's about a 1,200 square foot house. It's about a 10,000 square foot house. It's built around 1947. So those quick numbers, immediately I just kind of like memorize them. I guess I'm going to be going back to the kind of reviewing that, because we're trying to always compare apples to apples. When I look at the tax information, right away I can tell this is non-owner occupied. Now we already kind of knew this, but I'm just kind of give you an example of how I would analyze it, which means it's like probably tenant occupied, which it is. Zoning sometimes come into place, not in this situation, but it is there. Also, in the special assessments, sometimes there's some they're repaving the street, or they're doing some type of work in the neighborhood, and then they raise the taxes for that particular property, and that could be something you need to take note of, that's going to be a much higher taxes than what's normal. There's nothing here that shows that, but I'm just giving you guys an example of like a red flag you might want to look. And then this is important, the characteristics of the property. So looking here, nothing crazy. And sometimes what happens, you guys, you'll see something, they're pitching it as a duplex, but it's actually a single family residence, and it's not a legal duplex. So you can't really comp it or give it the value or ARV of a duplex if it's not legally duplex. So you'll get that sometimes when people advertise MLS listings like that, or you get people that that are wholesalers that send you this deal, and you're like, no, bro, it's not a duplex. I can't give it that same value. Not the case here though. This is the square footage. It's showing 2 bedrooms, 1 bath. Now, if this said 3 bedrooms, 1 bath, but then they had changed it to a 2 bedrooms, 1 bath, we could change that back, kind of legally. So there's those type of little nuances you want to pay attention to. This is the kind of estimated value. I found this to be kind of somewhat accurate, but in this case, not as much. All right. Also, very important, guys, is I'm always looking at, I like to look at the mortgage history. Doesn't look like they owe any money on the property, because look, they bought it in 2010, but there has not been a mortgage recorded after that. So then that tells me that person owes the property likely free and clear, right? At least that's what it indicates to me. We still will ask the seller and all that, but I'm just kind of quick and dirty. All right, so there's nothing else. Now I'm going to go over here and do a quick search on the comps, and just active under contract, pending, closed, single family, and then we're gonna just copy here, and we're gonna paste it here. We want to be usually gonna be within half a mile, and I could always stretch it out later. And then remember that we memorized real quickly, we wanted to be around 1,200 square feet. But what another quick and dirty is, I just add or minus about 200 square feet. So that would be about, I guess, 1,000, but I'd say 950 square feet to about 1,400. Doesn't have to be super accurate. Just kind of give you want to try to compare apples to apples. Boom. Now we have a snapshot of the value here. Wait a minute. I didn't. Okay, so went back here, and looks like these active, pending. This is a very, very important screen that I look at quite often, because it gives you a snapshot of what's going on. Doesn't look like there's been any kind of closed sale. Maybe I did something wrong here, but I could expand it here and put 3/4 of a mile, see if there's anything there.
Okay, I think we did have to go to 3/4 of a mile in Lancaster because of the district that it's in. There's a lot of homes that are prefab houses, or kind of like the communities. So we did need to go a little further to get the comps on this one.
Okay, thank you for elaborating on that. I don't remember, because this was kind of your deal. And then so now we have 1, 2, 3, 4, and they're a little bit farther than we normally want. I will toggle back and forth a lot to like the map, because I want to see the location. I want to try to see the pockets, and I'm often on the satellite image, because you want to kind of, from an aerial view, just kind of take a quick and look at, hey, how close is it? Similar neighborhoods that you can see. This neighborhood here is different, because you could see the
Much
roof.
Different.
Yeah, compared to this neighborhood, which is different. Now imagine driving those neighborhoods, they would also be different. So I'm gonna put a lot of weight on this one, but these are pending. But another quick tip that I want to give you guys is, you can call these listing agents here. Say, for example, on this house, this is a direct comp. We want to look at it and be like, okay, look at this. This looks like a flip with a pool, right? We don't have a pool. So as a matter of fact, I'll do that right now. Let's call the listing agent right now and see if we can get some information on where, because it's a pending sale. They listed at 349. This could help us with our ARV. So let's call them, because it's a regular comment, see if I can get them on the line real quick. And then just, hey man, please help out.
This is a ninja trick really too, Alex, because again, you can call these pending comps and get some clarification. So let's see if we can get them on the line.
It's Israel.
Yeah, hey Israel, this is Alex. Calling about 6th Street East.
That one we were ending already.
Yeah, can you educate me a little bit? Help me out, brother. I'm trying to use it as a comp for a property I'm trying to buy. Did you get asking or above?
We got, yeah, we had what is it? 325. We got it at 350.
Okay, so you got 350 for it?
Yes, sir.
Awesome, awesome. Okay, do you have any fixers or anything else coming up down the line? I'm an investor. I'm looking to buy a property to either buy and hold or flip.
You know what? I don't have any. I got 7 offers coming up, but 7 listings, but they're like regular properties.
Gotcha, gotcha. Okay.
I might have a flip for you.
Where?
Let's see. I gotta talk to my guy. The house is a 3-1. It's Lancaster. It's Lancaster Boulevard, 3-1.
Okay.
Built in 1975. It's about 20K to make it look nice. You can sell it for like 350, 360.
Okay.
Maybe I can get a bid for like 290, 285. Maybe, not a guarantee.
Okay. It's little tight, but I think if I bought it all cash, not use the hard money, then it might work. What do I need to look at it or just get some more information on that?
Well, let me talk to my guy first, see if he wants to let it go, because I think it's not. Let me see what he wants to do.
Okay.
If you're interested, I'll send you the address, and we can set up a time to go see it. But let me find out first. Maybe I can try to get it for like I said, 285. I mean, how soon can you close?
Well, typically I need about 7 to 10 days. That's my typical close time. 2 weeks is nice, but I don't need that much time. I'm not a wholesaler. I'm an end buyer.
Let me see if he wants to let it go. If he does, I'll show it to you, and then hopefully we can do something.
All right, brother. Let's put something together. You gonna call me back, or should I follow up with you?
Yeah, call me back, and then I should get a text with your full name. That way I know, you know what I mean, so I won't forget.
Okay. I'm running to some appointment, and then I'll text you after the appointment. Sound good?
Right.
Thank you. My name's Alex Camacho, by the way.
Alex Camacho. All right, Alex, that's the plan.
Thank you, Israel. Have a great day.
You too, bye-bye.
Let's go. All right. So
Asking price in escrow and potentially has another deal. So let's go. That's how you do it.
all right, guys. We gotta start charging for this. I'm joking.
With the roosters in the background too.
With the roosters, the Maui roosters in the background. Shut up, guys. Okay.
And I know what you guys are thinking. We actually know Israel. He's an agent that we work with. That was completely scripted, but that was not. Like Alex just, you get what you ask for. So if you don't ask agents, they're never going to send you properties. So what other comps do we use on this one, Alex?
Okay, so the other comp that we used, I think was this 340. I think it was half a mile, pretty close by. Little bit different structure, but it needed some work. Yeah, this one I think was one of them. Had a decent lot size. So, again, it's a little bit different, but it is still, in that 3 range. I think when we originally looked at the deal though, right, I think we felt we were at around 325, right?
Around 315, 325. Yep.
Okay. So yeah, so you see it's a 319 here. But again, this is the kind of a different pocket. So like, I don't give that as much weight. Also, again, you're looking over here. Our property was built, remember, in the 50s. Look at the year built. I typically don't like to analyze property more than 10, 15 years apart, because they're just different. So I might even just add here, like, see on year built, like 19 like 70 and below. The MLS is so powerful, guys. See, there's only this one, but this is another one. So this is a little bit more kind of, I guess, closer to like the same type of build. And it's not even remodeled. And it's sold for 320. Now these are current comps. We didn't have the same comps, when we were running it, but I'm giving you guys an example. So what we're identifying here is
Alex, while you're on this one line display, can you also just go over the days on market, please?
Sure. So
The importance of that.
You're kind of looking for days on market for patterns. Let me go back and then take out that, so I have more data here and just show you what, how that's important. All the data is important, you guys. Some is more important than others, but look at the days on market here, especially the ones closed. 4 days, 5 days.
Over a month.
Now, we all know it's a hot market, but when it wasn't a hot market, we're in the middle of pandemic or whatever last year, like you don't know that. And you need to kind of read the market, like how fast our house is selling for. So that way you can plug those numbers, days held in the calculator, and calculate your holding costs, how many payments you're gonna have to possibly make on that house. So the highest one is 27 days, which is still not relatively that bad. Yeah, and then look, this is another big indicator. This these red or blue arrows indicate whether house prices are selling over asking or house prices are selling under asking. So if you see a lot of red arrows, what does that tell you? It tells you that
Values are going up.
no, red means down. It means that the prices are, the people are listing property for some price and they're getting below their asking. Now the blue ones means that they're consistently getting above asking. So that's again a really, really important indicator on kind of what's happening in that market. Okay, so now that we kind of got an idea of the ARV, we use certain methods to calculate the rehab budget, right? And in Antelope Valley, we're finding that we're rehabbing properties somewhere around $25 to $35 per square foot. So if we did the quick numbers, 1,200 square feet times say $35 a square foot, because it was kind of somewhat like, just cosmetic, but it needed a little bit more work than cosmetic, but it wasn't like really, really bad. So we said 40, let's say 35 times 1,200 is about $42,000. So that's let's just round it down, just because you want to maybe be a little bit more optimistic, you guys, when you're running your numbers, and then more realistic and pessimistic once you've seen the property and know what you're dealing with. But when you're just running numbers, don't get yourself out of a deal before you even get consideration, before you even make an offer and all that, because I've seen people do that too, where they're just so conservative on their numbers and they haven't even fucking looked at the house. It's like, come on, man, that you're not even getting in the game. So
gotta get the offer accepted before you start getting really, really tight.
Especially if it's the type of transaction that you can have an inspection period and then cancel the escrow if you don't, if things don't check out. So again, be realistic on the initial, kind of quick and dirty desktop, analysis, and then be more realistic once you got more data and look at the property or your team has. So let's say what are we at? We think we can get safely 325, or are we thinking 315 still?
Yeah, we can put 325 in there.
Okay, so this is our
I
base.
think 325 was actually our best case. 315 was our base case.
Okay, and then you were negotiating deal actively, right? And we knew we had to be somewhere around 220, 225, and I think we were running the numbers on that. Okay, yep. We ended up locking up, I think, at 226. And then remember, guys, this days held affects this interest that you're paying to the hard money lender. So if you divide that by the 4 months, you're gonna figure out how many payments you're gonna have to make approximately. So this interest is not gonna be due all at once. It's gonna be over the 4 months, the 120 days that you're actually holding the property. In addition to the cyclical taxes here, 860, because you have to pay taxes twice a year in California, and then also insurance as well. So this is usually a one-time fee, but we have that there. So okay, 40
utilities as well affects that as also.
Yeah. So we put 40. If we get the property vacant, usually we can rehab the property within, we try to use a metric of about $1,000 a day in rehab. So that rehab should be about 40, 45 days maybe, right? And so that's why you see these numbers here. It would be, I'm just kind of calculating on the side there sometimes of like, hey, if I took me 40 days to rehab this property from when I closed, it takes me.
Hey, Alex, real quick, do you mind just zooming in and we'll kind of break it into a little bit more detail on the calculator? The folks on the screen are viewing it from back home. So let's make sure to zoom in maybe one more. That's perfect.
Is that good? Perfect. Okay. Yep. So now 40 days on the rehab, we're using that metric. We're going to calculate that, because there's a couple components to that, guys. What it is the rehab, it's the listing period, it's the escrow period, and then you want to have a little bit of a pad. Obviously things change, things go wrong, buyers fall out of escrow, rehab goes longer, all these things can change. So I usually put the listing period now of about 10 days to 14 days. Let's leave at 10 because things are, getting into escrow fast. Also, I mean, we could put 30 days here, but let's say 45, and then another 15 days or so for pad. So what does that get us? That gets us a hold time of 110 days. So 110 days, bam. And our desired profit typically is at least 30% cash on cash return, where if we're flipping that house in 4 months or 3 months, that actually you can double, triple that, because that would be like a 60, 90% return on, because you're flipping it faster. But our minimum desired is usually 30, 35 in Antelope Valley. So this doesn't meet our minimum desired profit at those numbers. Let me just make sure that all the other numbers are correct. The purchasing closing cost, guys, is not an exact number. It usually is about anywhere from 0.75% all the way to 1.5%. But you gotta, kind of just be around there. It doesn't scale up. So if you're buying $1 million property, you're not gonna put like 1% and it's $10,000. But then if you're buying $100,000 property, it's not gonna be 1%, $1,000 a closing cost either. So just trying to, play with those numbers right here. I think this is a little bit high. No, I think this is about right. And then we're going down. We're seeing here right now, I'm getting hard money points of 1.25 to 1.75. So we just put 1.75. Actually, let's put 2 because remember, the hard money lenders get paid on loan amounts and things like that. So this is a low loan amount, not that appealing. Hard money lenders really want bigger loan amounts if they can because they make more money. So they're probably going to charge me a little bit more points to go ahead and still make money and want to do the deal and have an appetite for the deal. I have a flat fee agreement with my broker where he either gets $5,000 per deal or 1%, whatever's greater of the sales price, because we feed him 1-2 deals a month. And now it's like 3-4. So it's like one of those things that you have to work with a listing agent or have someone on your team that understands that and is working with you and not trying to charge you a full commission. I'm sorry, that was the wrong. That was no, that's good. So yeah, that's good. So see, that's 1.75 is about 5,500. That's fine. And then we always pay buying commissions usually of 2.5%, because they're going to bring the end buyer. I'm not going to be cheap with the person that's going to help me get paid and help me cash out of the deal. So I usually put 2.5% there. And then my interest rates usually, 7.75 all the way to 8.5, depending on the deal on that. So there we are. Doesn't really quite meet it.
And Alex, I just looked back on my computer on the email we sent over. We did have 325 in here. That was our base case.
Okay, see now, and I think bam. See, now it hits our numbers where we want to be at, right? So after that, now that we feel confident, we double checked our numbers there. Yep. And then, okay, very important point, you guys.
Alex, real quick, before you dive into this, can you go over those numbers on the right just one more time, real quick, the 40, 10, 45?
Yes. So
40 days is rehab.
The first one is what's the first number, which is when you buy the property, day number 1, that's your rehab period. Yep. So what is that going to be? So you can get that from your contract. How many weeks is this going to be? Or again, we use that quick and dirty of like about $1,000 a day based on the rehab budget. So we said 40 there.
And I wanted to point that out. So the 40K, 40 days. So that's your $1,000 a day, 40 days, 40K rehab estimate. So that's where we get 40 up there. Just quick and dirty, guys. This is a quick and dirty.
Yeah. And then the listing period. How many days do you anticipate that a property be on the market before it goes into escrow with an accepted offer?
We got that data from the MLS. So you saw 4 days, 3 days, 7 days, 8 days. So we're assuming 10 days.
Yeah. Or that could be 2 weeks, 14 days, 15 days. That's kind of flexible. They're just kind of, what do you expect? If you look on that number and the average days held or average days in escrow over there on that property sold is 30, then you would put 30 here because that's how long you think. Now, it doesn't mean that you're not going to be able to sell the property. We're so used to now selling property fast, but there is going to come a time in the future where it's going to take 30, 60 days to sell a house, So 10 days and then 45 days escrow period, which again, that could be 30 days, but you don't want to be too optimistic on that either. So that is the escrow period. How long is it going to be in escrow from start to finish? Because it is very common when you're flipping property that, buyers get cold feet. These retail buyers back out or they ask for repairs, just like investors ask for reductions in price and, credits. So do retail buyers. So, sometimes we have to cancel escrow and that could be 2 weeks we're tied up. And then the next buyer, it takes them 30 days to close. So that's why I put 45 days there. And then 15 days, just as a pad, if things go wrong. And then if we just kind of hover over these 3, we see it right here, 110 days. And that's where we plug this in, which again, it directly affects this number here. Now, if I change this number to a whole year, if some shit hit the fan, look at how much my profit went cut in half. And then the hard money lender interest got pretty much doubled. Right?
So days held significantly can affect the process on this calculator. So let's talk about the $87,000. So that's the total that you're going to need to put into this property.
Exactly. So I want you guys to pay close attention to this number, you guys. This is the amount of capital you're either going to have to come up with or raise or borrow or convince a joint venture partner to put up. So this is a very important number. Now, does it mean that you have to cut a check next week when you close? If that guy asks me to close on that property in 2 weeks, do I have to cut a check for $87,000? No. You have to be able to, there's the acquisitions fee, or I'm sorry, acquisitions amount, which is say, you're putting 20% down, which is on average what we had to put. So that's $45,000. So you would have to bring $45,000 to the closing table and approximately the closing costs as well. So you would really just have those two numbers as your acquisitions to buy the property. Now, there is ways for the lender to give you rehab, and they can fund some of it where they do the draw schedule. I do recommend it for anything over like a lighter rehab. So that way, you're using 10,000 and then they're giving you a refund for 10,000. So theoretically, you wouldn't need to use 87, but you would need to use at least the 47 or, call it $50,000. And then you would need to have available credit cards or somebody, family member let you borrow money, or, a combination of, using the credit cards and your own capital, or doing the draw. So really you want to identify how much money you're really going to need. Yeah.
Huge.
Okay. And then it's in intervals. It's not all due at once. So, once you close the property and then people see that you bought this property, then you could raise some money after the fact. So again, don't let yourself believe that just because you don't have a boatload of cash that you can't do deals. It's just no, like you can't, but you just need to understand how much money is needed. So then that way you can, raise the capital or, partner up. All right.
So Alex, what if shit hits the fan? Like what if that worst case scenario were to happen?
3 things can really go wrong. You could not get the price that you expected, which is the ARV. You were totally off. You're wrong on that. The rehab budget goes out of whack and something happens and something unexpected happens way crazy. Or it takes way longer rehab, I think. That would be it, right? So days held, price, and then the rehab. So we're going to assume what's the worst case scenario. We go back to the comps and we really look over stuff and we're like, dude, the lowest things that are really selling, if you look at stuff, is kind of in the threes right here, right? It's like everything's 300, 319, 330. So I think worst case scenario would be somewhere around that. Would it not, like around 300?
300 would probably be worst case scenario. Like that would mean, hey, we didn't have anything that these guys had.
Yeah, we have a rehab property and then we're going to rehab in 40 days. You're telling me in 40 days, the home price is going to go down 20%? Like, then the whole shit's hitting the fan. And I mean, there's going to be deals everywhere. And there's a lot more going on in the world than just like your one rehab that you're worried about, So, all right. Now, what is worst case scenario? Dude, things can really go out of whack. I don't see this thing really hitting more than about 50, 55, somewhere around there. So let's say, right around there, or we could go 52.5, I go to, $2,500 increments, right? And then if everything took a really long time, let's go back here and we just calculate, let's say this thing took like 65 days to rehab. It took 21 days, to get into escrow. It took 55 to sell, and then plus the pad. How much is that? That's 156 days. So we'll just round it up, 160. Bam. All right, cool. Let's make sure the numbers match here. You see that number go up to $100,000 too. So if things go wrong, you're going to need more cash. Just kind of keep that in mind. So you don't want to be just rubbing nickels together either. So you want to have some reserves. If the lender really doesn't like the deal, they might charge me 3 points for the deal, 3.5. I've gone charged 4 or 5 points in the Antelope Valley because again, they don't like those low loan amounts out there. And then utilities could be crazy. So we could leave the contractor could leave the AC running, like your boy Vlad just posted about. And just like things could go crazy. So we'll just put that a little bit higher utilities. 1.75. Make sure my agent eats. And then if they really don't like the deal, they can charge me 9.5%. Let's see. Okay, cool. So this is, I think, about where we're at. The most I really want to lose, you guys, if everything hits the fan, is about $10,000, $15,000. I'm willing to take that loss. I've had it happen before when I work for my mentors. Never under like my money and my deals and my current structure, my company the last 2 years, but I have lost money on deals when I was working for other people because they were more aggressive, they had more capital, and they were buying more volume. But I learned a lot from that. Because I did lose, like I think on one deal I lost 18,000 because I was in a profit loss acquisitions director. So position. So if they lost, I was making 10%, then 15%. But if they lost money, I also lost that for my commissions. So I did lose 17,000 on one deal, 10 on another, 8 on another. So I think 3 deals I lost money on. Or I just didn't get the commissions on. They took it from my other commissions, my other bonuses and profits from those other deals I got them. Okay. Yeah, so that's where we're at. All right, cool. Like everything hits the fan, everything goes wrong.
Everything hits the fan. Everything, like we didn't think it was going to go this bad.
And I will still make my lenders whole. I will still make everything's whole. So I'm cool with that because it's just part of playing the game. Could happen. All right. So if everything goes right or better, and we just have best possible case scenario, what would that look like? Okay, let me make sure this is correct. It's not aligned. Sorry. Okay, so make sure everything's correct. And that's why when I sent you guys the email on this email calculator, the ones that asked for it, that's why I told you make sure that your numbers are right, because it's easy when you're running multiple deals to confuse, not transpose, not change things. So make sure that you're doing you're double checking your numbers. Okay, we think we can get 350 on this property, right, Will?
Yeah, I don't think it would be 25 though. Probably about 35 on the rehab. Yep.
35 best case. And then I think, we could be a little bit more, 100 days will be fine, or we could even put 90 days. We flip property in 70 days, 80 days, 78 days. So we've done it before.
This is a small house, small property. We could get it done.
Yeah. All right. So we do that. And then we can possibly get better pricing on this thing potentially. Oh, look, see, $10,000 acquisitions fee. And then I just don't have that here in the numbers, or just don't want it to affect the numbers.
And that's what Alex meant when he said, guys, make sure you check your numbers, because if we wouldn't have seen that 10K in there, that would have affected that end number by $10,000 of profit.
And it could affect your decision on the deal, because you're like, what we're looking for constantly is those deals with very minimal low downside, low risk potential on the worst case scenario, and high upside potential. So that way it's like, hey, if things go really well, we can make a lot of money, but we'll make our minimum if things are just hit what we thought. And then if everything hits the fan, we're not going to make we're not going to lose that much. We're not going to lose the bank. Okay, so I think we're good here on these numbers. So yeah, so this is what we're at. Like, if everything hits the fan, look, we could make 90% on our money, use 80,000 and make 60,000. I think that's great. I use that often. Like, how much money am I have to use or raise or borrow? And then how much money can I potentially make? I love those numbers, right? Like using 80,000.
Leave it at 110 days, just to kind of show how little that'll affect it at the end. Lose $1,000. So even if it did still take the same amount of time, it still, has the potential to be a really nice deal.
Exactly. And imagine that on a bigger deal. How much, hey, you make 50,000 on one deal, but best case, you could make 100, 125. Yes, sir. Those are deals we want. The six-figure paydays, multiple six-figure. We can't know why. All right, man. You guys enjoying this? Can we get a thumbs up? Can you give me like, hell yeah? Or yeah, I'm a deal maker. What's up,
everybody? Give us some feedback here if you're enjoying this. Alex, we did have a couple quick questions that I just want to do quick hitters, and then let's go ahead and dive into our second deal. I'd love to do the Joshua Tree deal, just to kind of get an idea on that one. Inside sales agent and outside sales agent. Can you go over those two terms down at the bottom real quick? I know for us, the inside sales agent, guys, that's our agent that's listing the property on our inside, our team. So who is listing the property with us? Typically,
yeah, that actually can be. That could actually, maybe I can reword that. That actually doesn't sound right. Like, inside would mean like who we're paying as the listing agent for the property to sell it for us. What commission we paying there, and then who are we paying? That's because it's not that common, you guys, despite what you might think, to find the end buyer that's going to pay you top dollar and close. Most of the time, 80-90% of the time, we don't find that buyer, and some other agent finds that buyer and brings it to us. And so how much are we paying them? Which I said earlier, typically has 2.5%. So I thought I got it here on my notes. We were going to cover that Sunland deal next. So you want to do the Joshua Tree next?
Yeah, we're running a little bit short on time. Either Sunland or Joshua Tree, whatever you want to do. I think Joshua Tree you're just a little bit more familiar with, so maybe we can get that one done here before time runs out. Melissa just had a quick question, Alex. What if you can't get the funding? You've mentioned this. We had prior webinars. Private funding is an option. If you don't have the funding, you partner with somebody on the deal, which is something that a lot of folks, do on their first couple of deals.
Yeah, it's almost like you get the deal and then you try to fund it, get it done yourself, but you can't fund it, then you maybe try to partner up or wholesale it. And so there's just like multiple, but it's like all running concurrently. Like with this Maui deal, like at first I was going to try to wholesale it, didn't work out. Then I was going to try to, see if I could buy and hold it, didn't work out. And then I decided to wholesale it and found a JV partner and then negotiate seller finance. So these deals are moving, you guys. They're not just like, okay, this is what I'm going to do. That's why you need to always expand your your investor tool belt with different strategies. So that way you have that ability to close and still do deals under different, structures.
Huge. One more question from Michael. How do you make the comps without access to the MLS? Super easy. You have access to the MLS, just not through the MLS. It's through Zillow and Redfin in your neighborhood. And you can use that to find comps. Just use the for sale and sold toggles to kind of use that. And just like Alex did, you can give, 1,200 to 1,300 square feet comps and differences right through there
Yeah.
on the app.
What's the Joshua Tree property?
I'll give you the address real quick, but Alex, can you go over the neighborhood rating real quick on the calculator and what that kind of means?
Yeah, we don't use that as often. That was there, but what we would do is 12 o'clock would be, it's like we use the range of 12 o'clock to 3 p.m., right? And what that basically would tell us is like, hey, is this like a war zone, like Compton, dead end street next to gang members and railroad tracks? That's a 3 p.m. Like, that's really rough. We're not going to invest in anything usually over a 2 p.m. And then there's like 12 p.m., which is like Leave It to Beaver, like just the best of the best neighborhood, like where everybody wants to live. And that would be 12 o'clock. So there's everything in between. And so that's kind of like what we would use. I don't really use it as much, but that's how we would use it on the calculator.
And that's really more for like someone like me. When I send Alex a deal as the acquisitions manager, I would let Alex know on my end, hey man, this is a 1, 2, or where is this on the scale, so that he knows, hey man, I'm looking at a property in a war zone, or I'm looking at a property in Beverly Hills.
Yeah, exactly. So let me bring up the Joshua Tree property. This was brought to us from a really good friend, solid hustler, wholesaler, Gabriel. I don't know if he's on the call or not. Shout out to him. We almost bought the property, but we'll show you now. It's just a little bit too tight. But so let's take a look here. Now, obviously, the aerial photos are not going to be. They're going to be a little bit different, right? Because it's rural. So as you look at Joshua Tree, the main kind of city Joshua Tree is over here.
Yeah, you had it right there over to the right.
Where?
Joshua Tree, right where that street comes out of the park.
Okay.
Yep, straight up from there.
So we can see it's kind of out there, very north, everything. Not an immediate deal killer because Joshua Tree, you guys, is becoming like the next Sedona, like for Southern California. You guys don't know, Sedona's in Arizona, and a lot of people go out there. It's booming. So that's kind of what I've been told, and I understand there's 3 million people a year going to Joshua Tree to go out there, and it's just booming. Houses you could buy out there before for 100, 200,000. Now, I mean, it's hard to buy anything under 400,000, and things are selling now for higher new builds for like 700,000, 800,000, 600,000, like newer builds and bigger properties, right? So anyway, and I didn't know this 2-3 months ago, but now I do, because we got a great deal out there, and then I've now become more familiar with the neighborhood. So again,
it's a hot pocket.
Always expanding your knowledge in different areas and never discount. That's one of the first things that I learned from my first mentor, that he would buy anywhere in Southern California as long as the numbers were right and he understood the market. Okay, so we go there with, okay, so big lot, like 5 acres. We don't have any aerial views. We can't go there, so we had to rely on some pictures that he gave us. But what was kind of cool on this one was that when we typed it into the MLS, we seen some old pictures, right? So that's another like hack where we're like, oh, cool. If you could find old listing pictures for a property you're looking at, that could be very helpful because it has information on there. So if you see here under this one line, this property has been listed 1, 2, 3, 4 times. One of them is expired, one of them was sold, one of them was expired, and one of them was sold. So 2 times it sold, other times it didn't sell. What are the prices? And you see these red arrows, at least for the time, it got under what it was asking for. So let's look at the most recent listing for that property. And when we see it, we're like, okay, it listed for 158, 155 is sold for one. Why does it show that? So this is also helpful, you guys, the listing history, where it shows, okay, when it got listed, when it went into pending in escrow, when it got sold, and you can see the dates. Sometimes properties fall in and out of escrow, and you kind of want to know what's going on, or how fast something went into escrow and then sold. So this is kind of helpful. We didn't cover that yet. So very important, guys. Let's read descriptions so we know what we're potentially getting and buying. Well-maintained 3-bedroom, 2-bath, performance den. Okay, because sometimes you're gonna look at the pictures and there's gonna be something in the description that is not in the pictures that helps you identify a little bit more about the property. Because again, this is probably when you haven't seen the property yourself yet. Okay, so we look at the pictures. We're like, okay, mid 2000s house build, very common for the area. Those kind of granite countertops, those like those type of kitchens and the color scheme. Look at the picture. I mean, looks pretty good. So if that happened in 2016, then what is it likely to look like now? And then we got some other pictures from the wholesaler. But I think that the guy wanted to sell at, I believe the numbers. Should we jump into the numbers or what did we miss?
Yeah, we can jump into some numbers here.
Okay.
So looking at this property, obviously the deal came from a wholesaler. So, you have kind of a number that it's a little bit different than just estimating with an agent or submitting an offer. It's hey, they want a kind of price. So you're either meeting them at their price or you're going to offer a little bit lower.
Yeah. And that's what I think. I think it's a point worth making, you guys. That could be a whole different webinar. We probably, wanted to go over how the way you make offers changes based on the source of the opportunity. If it's a wholesaler, usually it's like yes, no, or this is my number, bro. There's like nothing. There's really not a lot of like overall negotiation, especially if it's a bigger wholesale firm that's like blasting out to like dozens and hundreds of like cash buyers. So it's usually just like yes, no, what's the number? Now MLS deal, it's a little bit more of a process. Is the agent going to, represent you? Are you writing an offer through your agent? A couple other things happening. What does the seller really want? Like, writing an offer with no inspection contingency help us get the deal, which is especially kind of true right now in this hot market. You got to write more aggressive offers. So just kind of a different, I guess, offer process based on the opportunity source, if that makes sense. Okay. So on that deal, I think the numbers were. What was it? What was like
330, 325 maybe? Oh no, sorry. It was 370 and 530 is what we thought it was going to go for.
Yeah, 375. And we thought that we can get 530.
I thought it was somewhere in the fives, or was it in the low fours?
No, I want to say, I was like, hey, I think we could get most is 450.
450. Cool.
Yeah. But it basically didn't need any work, you guys. Like,
sorry. This was the wholesale one that we didn't need to do much work to. So yeah.
Yeah, and then this was like really short. Really short time. So it was so tight. But then like the highest comp was 440. But I just gave them the benefit of the doubt. But oftentimes you're gonna hear this thing like you gotta buy properties 70% of ARV or below. But you can buy for more if it needs less work, and it's gonna be a faster kind of like a hotel quick flip deal too. So as you see here, it's like, okay, what are we looking at? Let's look at the numbers. I went and got approval for the hard money lender to do this deal because the same hard money lender did our other Joshua Tree deal. So I looked at them just like a little bit tight, but maybe possible because it's so hot that it could maybe get more than that. But let's look at worst case. And then we looked at so there's no change in the purchase price. I think worst case on this thing, man, we do all the work.
420 or 425, yeah.
420. Yeah, and then we might have to spend $10,000, maybe 12. I think it was like I was like, oh man, I think maybe even 15. Something's wrong with this, septic or something like that, bro. It could be expensive, and then it might take a little bit more time to sell. So let's see, I think we were here. Okay, we don't need this. Okay, so. There you go. It exceeds kind of the maximum loss and it could be a little bit more if potentially. So you see that like that's already
15 was still really light. Like you said, if something really was messed up in the house and it needed more than cosmetic, it could balloon to 25, 30 in a heartbeat.
Yeah, and it's like, and that's not including have to pay any commissions to you, not paying commissions to interest to maybe a private money lender that I raised some capital, but I don't want to use my capital. So, it's like, I could be a $35,000 L. I'm okay with that. I'm not trying to do that. Because really it comes down to like, what's the best use of my capital or the capital I have available? I'd rather wait for the better deal than to just buy a deal. And so 375, if we've got best case scenario, I think it was like 475, maybe 500. What do we think the best case on this was?
I don't think we really saw any comps that were much higher than 475 out in the area just because of its rural nature. So, I mean, if again, like we said, if the market just really, there was nothing available, then maybe somebody would, but we kind of put 475 as our cap.
Yeah. And then here's the thing, guys, if you're being aggressive, which do recommend right now because of the market, but at the end of the day, if the buyer can't get a loan for it and cash you out, it doesn't matter what they're willing to pay because then they can't get a loan. And it's unlikely that cash buyer is going to pay that much over potential appraised value. Like that's not going to happen. So like, that's why it's like, okay, yeah, the market's hot and all that, but I'm not trying to, like gamble. It's like gambling at that point. It's not really investing. So 60,000. Let's see here. So yeah, so if everything went right, I think it was just like that was like best case scenario. Even that's like I think being too optimistic. But yeah, it was just too tight of a deal. I just didn't like it because really it was like the highest comp was like 440. So that was kind of the real numbers. I'm gonna use look at how much I'm gonna use $84,000 and then maybe make 20. I'll pass. Like I'm good. So as much as I wanted to work with this wholesaler, great guy. I'm sure we'll do a deal with together. But like the end of the day, like it's still a business decision. And I made the offer because he had it locked up at 365. So I'm like, man, if you want to just JV a deal, give it to me at 365. I'll give you money on the back end, or I'll give you 5,000 up front right now for like an acquisition to give you some money on the back end. But at 375, it just don't work. And so we ended up passing on the deal.
So I think, again, the calculator run through, Alex, was super helpful for people. I mean, we looked at a couple of deals, one that we took down and one that we passed on. With the calculator, what are some of the biggest things that you've run into that might have maybe, like again, if you were to pass 2 ninja tips on the calculator, what would those be?
Run a lot of scenarios. Know what every number is. Like if you have questions, ask.
So yeah, again, I couldn't agree more. The more scenarios you run on this, the better you get. So sometimes, when we have deals, we don't like to show each other the numbers on here until the other person does it, because that way you both get 2 different sets of eyes. And oftentimes Alex will reply back to me and say, hey, Will, you're, 5K off here, you're 10K off here. Sometimes they'll reply back and say, hey, you're spot on. So having that second set of eyes or a third set of eyes is always very helpful as well.
Super helpful.
So what we're going to do now is, Alex, if you'll go ahead and pass me over the host, I'm going to get a couple of you guys here into the room, and we'll kind of finish off with questions. If anybody has any questions, we'd love to kind of, take a couple minutes and answer those with you guys here directly. And, kind of just bring everybody back onto the screen and thank everybody so much, of course, for coming out today and, kind of running through this, this calculator with us.
Yes, sir. My deal makers.
And one comment I did want to reply to, David, I think in the chat, was mentioning that some of this stuff that we were doing, Alex, is not available to other people, such as previous mortgage history, listing history, listing data. It'll be available to you. It just might be available to you in a different format, right? It might not be available in that MLS place, but Alex, you can get this information other places.
Yeah, and I mean that's not the end all be all, because then you could just ask the homeowner, like, hey, what do you owe on the property, or when you bought it and all that. I'll just give you guys examples of me analyzing a lot of deals, how I look at it and why I look at it like that.
And for example, on deals, you can always go into Google and you can type in the property address. And I did it, and I was able to find 2 to 3 past listings on one of the properties we just bought. So it wasn't clear cut and easy.
I saw
the
first listing. I didn't see it on MLS, but the one for Joshua Tree, I looked on Redfin because he sent me the Redfin link. So it wasn't even on MLS. I'm just showing you guys now on MLS. But I saw the initial pictures on the Joshua Tree deal on Redfin.
Yeah. And again, so the pictures, you might have to look in a different area for them. You might not find them all in one place. You might have to call a real estate agent or a local, professional that does have access. So, that's why having an agent that you work with on your team can be beneficial. And Danielle had another great question, Alex, about how many deals do you think you need to do before it's time to start negotiating your rate with your agent?
I mean, the reality is that could be 0. Like if someone understands your business and then you're really like pitching it, trying to find that person that's going to align with your business, it doesn't have to be any certain amount of deals, because it's hard to go backwards. Like, okay, let me give them full commission, and then 3, they get you, you make a lot of money on 2, 3 deals, and then they're like, oh no, I'm getting you top dollar. Like, no, you don't have to reduce my commission. Trust me, it's really, really difficult to go backwards. But if you start from the beginning, set the expectations. Hey, I'm going to be giving, but then it also falls on you. How many deals you're giving them? Are you only giving them 2, 3 deals a year? if it, that's how can you negotiate a great deal like that if you're not giving them that much? So it's really kind of you got to negotiate a win-win based on what each person is doing.
Or are you posting on your Instagram that you just sold a house and you sold it with somebody else directly in that market? If you do that and you're asking for a discount from that person because you're going to do volume with them, and then you do a deal with somebody else, that kind of goes against what you just said as well.
Yes, sir. Any
So
other
guys,
questions,
we got to see Alex run through the calculator today. I know we got a couple of you guys here on the screen now. What did you guys think? Did anybody have any other kind of, glaring questions that kind of stood out? Who's fired up and who's going to be kind of reviewing some deals this week now that they've had a chance to kind of see the maestro, Mr. Alex, kind of go through and do it himself?
Dude, I just want to comment on Kamohai's like setup, bro. I need you to come over here to Maui, bro. Get me set up like you, bro. You look like you're a DJ, or you're a podcaster. I love it.
Let's do it. This is a super easy budget setup. Let's go.
Let's go.
I love it though. It does look pretty official, right? With the drop down mic.
Oh yeah. I'm gonna get set up. I'm gonna get right. Thank you.
Yeah. So fellas, it's pretty redundant for me, right? I'm just like, again, I'm used to using your regular calculators, doing your things, and I love the scenario base as well. But I'm still like stuck on the way you guys are using those other numbers on the side, right? Those 45s, those 10s, and you guys really got that shit dialed in. And it's kind of one of my like fears, right? Is holding this fucking thing. This thing starts sitting, excuse my language, if anybody, and to me, I think that's my biggest deal breaker, right? That's my biggest learning process. I don't want to say it's a struggle or anything like that, right? It's just, there's no problems, right? There's just solutions. So, yeah. And I think, like I say, hanging with you guys and attending more of these breakdowns would be, obviously suffice. And I appreciate that. So yeah, just that. I know breaking that down again, that might be redundant to you guys, but I appreciate all you do, man.
Yeah, Will, can you just put the actual labels next to each one? I think that's gonna be very helpful. Like on the M, yeah, rehab timeline. Yeah, listing. There you go.
Badass.
Escrow, and then pad. Or yeah, fluff or pad. Yeah. Bam.
So what we mean by escrow is, Kevin, when somebody buys the house, so when you list the property, we saw the days on market, the DOM was 7 days on all those houses. So us putting 14 days, we're really padding it another 7 days there. So really, this is the, again, this isn't a dead all sale number, but that is your listing time. We think it'll be listed 2 weekends of showings, and this thing will be sold.
Kevin, are you not in the escrow state? Are you in an attorney state?
Escrow.
Okay, cool. Yeah, well, that's the escrow period, listing period, rehab period, and pad. That's really what it is.
And so, that 60-day number where we get that rehab estimate is, like Alex was saying, if we have a 60K rehab, we're going to estimate about $1,000 per day is what we estimate for our skilled laborers and laborers to get the job done. So any combination of $65,000 would all of a sudden make that time go to 65 days.
Yeah.
Cool.
I like it, bro. Thanks.
You got it.
Badass.
And, again, you can change those numbers and we will do that on ours, and we'll say, hey man, what if this does take, so Alex, you bought properties recently with tenants in place, right?
Yeah.
So what we can happen there is it might be a 60-day rehab, but we might also add up on here 60 days to get those tenants out of place.
Yeah. There you go.
So now all of a sudden our hold time is actually going to go up to 193 days instead of only 133 days. And that's if we're paying those hard money points and the interest fees that comes out of us.
And that's why you have the worst case, best case, all that together, because then you're like, okay, what do I really realistically think? If things really hit the fan, how long will it take? And then if things go really well, how fast can I sell it? So it's just all those things combined, but you need to identify the timelines for each section of your flip or your deal.
Right.
So let's say, for example, Alex, that we're able to get the tenants out in 30 days. Maybe we're going to have to pay them $10,000 to get them out in 30 days. And that's our best case scenario. Yeah. But then we can also have on our worst case scenario, well, what if it takes them 60 days and then we only give them $5,000 as cash for keys? And that would affect our number and our days held. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Great question, man. Any other questions, guys? You can always reach out. What I'd
Always.
love to do, and you know, we always kind of give you guys a challenge. Would love to see anybody who reviews a deal this week go ahead and take a screenshot of that deal calculator and post it in the Facebook group. That way, everybody can kind of see your numbers, see your base case, see your worst case, see your best case, and kind of get used to and more used to analyzing these deals. Alex, you've estimated to, I mean, you've done this 5,000. I've gotten at least 500 deals under my belt. You have to have 5,000 or more. So repetition is what makes it so easy for Alex to go through and do one of these deals in 5 to 7 minutes, right?
And guys, if just real quick, what's up, guys? My name's Edward. I'm out of LA. If anyone needs help with anything on the MLS, if you need help running comps, if you need help getting information that you're not comfortable, like can't figure out on Zillow, I know Alex and Will are really busy, but I'm a local realtor in the area. Reach out to me. I can help you out. Whether you want to list with me, you have your agent, or you just need someone to get another opinion that kind of speaks the same lingo, let me know. I love helping out everyone here. Got to meet a lot of cool people in here through just offering different things. So yeah, I'd love to help out. Love running numbers with anyone. So let's kill it. Like, I'm here to help out as much as I can.
Thank you, Edward.
What a legend, dude. So you guys just got it right there. Anybody in the chat saying they're having trouble finding, you know, comps in the area, find yourself a investor friendly agent like my guy Edward over there. You know, get somebody like that in your corner that's willing to run some comps for you here and there at the end of the day, and it'll go a long way.
I mean, because really at the end of the day, that is a win-win, right? You're like, hey, you're getting out there, you're putting in offers, looking at deals, and then you're like, hey, Edward, can you, comp this property out for me? You know, I'm not going to be able to do that for you guys. And then he comps it out, and then you guys kind of collaborate on it. Hey, I'm thinking this. Like one of our, big resources in Antelope Valley, we have Eric, a rock star, agent out there killing it, and he gives us his insight. And we don't know it all. We're just, we're working together to put these deals together. That's what it comes down to.
And I work with agents as well, where I'll give them a property and say, hey, this is a little bit far for me to drive. I can't get out to Pomona today. I can't get out to Riverside today. I can't get out to, one of those areas today, but could you just run a quick and dirty on this and, let me know what you think it is? And having those kind of resources in your closet is huge, because it's just another tool in the tool belt. So Edward, dude, I really do appreciate it. And Edward is down here in the LA area. So anybody who is, getting stuck on running comps in LA, hit up your guy. And if you do not live in LA, just find a Facebook group, Bigger Pockets, post on there that you're looking for an investor friendly agent, and one will come your way. Guys, any other big questions for Alex here before we wrap things up? I know he's got a couple more things to get done out on his Maui flip. If you guys got a lot of value from this today, can we get everybody to turn off your mics and give Alex a big thank you for taking an hour out of his time today and reviewing the hell out of these deals?
Can we get some shakas and some smiles going on?
Thank you, Alex.
Thanks, Alex.
Thank you, Alex.
Thanks, Alex.
And I had one more question.
Thanks, Alex, bro.
I had
Mahalo,
one more
Alex.
question right before we end here.
Sure.
First of all, I want to say thank y'all. My name's John. I'm 19 and I'm in Texas. And so like the biggest thing that I'm getting at is like, I mean, I'm in college. I just finished my freshman year, and kids my age, they're not necessarily focused on, flipping, investing. And so my question is just like, are these meetings recurring? And because this is a big way to just surround myself with people that are in it, because I don't necessarily have that. And so I was wondering if like these are recurring and it's something that that I could continue coming back to.
Yes,
sure.
John, it's every week at 3 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. We have some type of webinar, and you could always go to the previous webinars on our YouTube channel, Alex Camacho TV.
Okay, perfect. Thank y'all so much again. It really means a lot that y'all are taking time out and giving, the tips and tricks, especially for newbies, helps a bunch.
And John, connect on our Facebook group, man. I just posted it in the chat.
Mhm.
The Facebook group, you're going to see a lot of familiar faces in here. Ulysses, Amari, Ben, Meg, Deb, a lot of familiar faces in here that are in there and that contribute. So if you have a question, you get stuck on anything, post it in the room, and I guarantee you one of these all-stars will get in touch with you and kind of help you out and get you to the finish line.
Perfect. Thank y'all so much again.
You got it,
Okay.
man.
I got to get going. Appreciate you. Go crush it. Let's take some action. Let's get some deals.
See you guys next week. Let's go.